The year was 2157, and humanity had finally reached beyond their solar system to discover they were not alone among the stars. Olivia Bennett stood in front of the massive view screen watching as the diplomatic vessel approached the homeworld of the Lumari, the most advanced alien species humans had encountered so far. She was 32 with dark hair cut in a practical bob and eyes that changed between blue and gray. Depending on the light, her hands clasped behind her back to hide their slight trembling. As chief xenolinguist for the Earth Alliance, Olivia had spent 5 years studying the complex language of the Lumari, a species known for their ethereal beauty and technological prowess. But this would be the first face-to-face meeting, Captain. We are receiving a transmission from the Lumari High Council, said the communications officer. Put it through, said Captain Martinez, a veteran of first contact missions. The view screen shifted, and Olivia felt her breath catch as she saw a Lumari for the first time outside of recordings. The alien woman, for they were a primarily female species, had skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner light somewhere between silver and pale blue. Her features were delicate, with large almond-shaped eyes that glowed with a soft purple light. Her head was hairless but adorned with what looked like living jewelry, intricate patterns that shifted and moved across her scalp. Greetings, humans of Earth. The Lumari spoke, her voice melodic and flowing like water over stones. I am Elder Nyara of the High Council. We welcome you to our world. Olivia stepped forward as planned. We thank you for your welcome, Elder Nyara, she replied, carefully forming the complex tonal patterns of the Lumari language. The alien woman's eyes widened slightly, the glow intensifying. You speak our tongue remarkably well for a species with such limited vocal range. Olivia smiled. It has been my honor to study your beautiful language, though I know my pronunciation must seem crude to your ears. Nyara made a gesture that Olivia recognized as one of polite disagreement. On the contrary, your dedication shows the adaptability that has made your species worthy of our attention. The diplomatic team was escorted to the surface of the Lumari homeworld, a planet of crystalline structures and floating cities that seemed to defy gravity. As the specialist in Lumari culture, Olivia was given her own quarters in the diplomatic wing, a room that seemed to be made entirely of some sort of living crystal that responded to her emotional state, shifting colors subtly as her mood changed. Fascinating, she whispered, touching the wall and watching as it rippled with blue light. You find our living architecture interesting, a voice said from the doorway. Olivia turned to see a Lumari woman younger than Elder Nyara, her skin with more of a blue tint and her eyes a bright teal. Yes, it's beautiful, Olivia said. We have nothing like this on Earth. The Lumari inclined her head. I am Lyra, second assistant to the Science Council. I have been assigned as your guide during your stay, Olivia smiled. It is an honor to meet you, Lyra. I look forward to learning more about your worldly. Lyra studied her with those luminous eyes. Humans are strange creatures, she said finally. So fragile looking. Yet you have survived conditions that would destroy many species. It's our adaptability. Olivia replied. It's our greatest strength. The next day, Olivia was taken to the Great Library of the Lumari, a vast complex where the knowledge of their 5,000-year civilization was stored. Lyra guided her through halls filled with crystal data storage beyond human comprehension. Our scientists are particularly interested in human creativity, Lyra explained as they walked. The Lumari have always been methodical, careful planners, but your species creates art, music, literature that seems to serve no evolutionary purpose, yet has helped you advance. Olivia considered this carefully. Art helps us process our emotions, connect with each other, understand our world in different ways. It's not separate from our advancement. It's central to it. Lyra stopped walking, her skin pulsing with a new pattern that Olivia couldn't interpret. The alien placed a slender hand on Olivia's arm, a gesture she'd never seen the Lumari use with humans before. Would you show me this human art? She asked. There is much our data fails to explain. Over the following days, Olivia found herself spending more time with Lyra than with the official diplomatic meetings, showing the curious alien everything from earth music to poetry to dance. Lyra seemed particularly fascinated by human music, playing recordings of everything from classical to pop with intense concentration. What does this make you feel, she would ask, and Olivia would try to explain the complex emotions that music stirred on the 5th night of their stay. Olivia was awakened by an urgent message from Lyricombe to the Central Observatory. Now the message read, "There is something you must see." Concerned Olivia dressed quickly and followed the glowing path that appeared on her room's walls, guiding her through the crystalline city. She found Lyra standing alone in a massive domed structure, the ceiling a transparent material showing the night sky above. Lyra turned as she entered, her skin glowing more brightly than Olivia had ever seen. "What is it?" Olivia asked. "Is something wrong?" Lyra gestured upward. "I have been studying your music, your art, trying to understand. Then I realized something we Lumari have never done." Above them the stars began to move, shifting and dancing in patterns that mirrored the rhythm of the earth. Symphony Lyra had been listening to the day before. "I asked the stellar manipulation system to create art," Olivia Lyra said, her voice filled with something like wonder. "Is this what it feels like?" Olivia watched breathless as the stars themselves danced to human music, the beauty of it bringing tears to her eyes. "Yes," she whispered. "This is exactly what it feels like." The news of the star dance, as it came to be called, spread quickly through the Lumari High Council. Olivia found herself summoned to an emergency meeting the next morning. The council chamber was a vast circular room with 7 Lumari elders seated in a semicircle, their skin glowing with various intensities and colors that Olivia had learned indicated different emotional states. Elder Nyara spoke first, addressing Lyra, who stood beside Olivia, her skin still pulsing with excited energy. "You have used a stellar manipulation system for entertainment purposes, Lyra. This is unprecedentedly." Ra stood tall. "I used it to create art. Elder, a concept I learned from the humans." Another elder, whose name Olivia didn't know, leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. "Art has no practical application, it serves no function in advancement." Olivia felt a surge of protectiveness toward Lyra, who was clearly being criticized for her experiment. "With respect, Elder," she said, stepping forward, "art has been central to human advancement throughout our history." The chamber went silent, all luminous eyes turning to the human who had dared to speak without being addressed. "Explain," the elder demanded. "Art helps us see possibilities beyond what exists." "Now," Olivia said, "it trains our minds to imagine what could be rather than just what is. Without imagination, there would be no innovation." Elder Nyara studied Olivia with intensity. "You believe this star dance, as you call it, has value?" Olivia nodded. "It has tremendous value. It represents a bridging of our cultures, a new way of seeing for both our species." The council conferred in rapid Lumari that was too complex for Olivia to follow, though she caught words like dangerous and unpredictable. Finally, Nyara turned back to them. "The council has decided that this cultural exchange merits further study, Lyra. You will continue to work with Olivia Bennett to explore these human concepts of art and creativity." Relief flooded through Olivia as they left the council chamber. "Did not expect them to approve," Lyra said, her skin shifting to a lighter blue. "They rarely embrace new concepts so quickly." Olivia smiled. "Sometimes beauty speaks louder than logic." Over the next few days, Lyra introduced Olivia to more Lumari scientists and artists. The concept of creativity for its own sake was revolutionary among a species that had always created with specific purpose. Olivia found herself teaching basic principles of human art to beings whose technology could manipulate starsets. "Ironic," she told Lyra as they sat in a garden of crystalline plants that sang softly in the breeze. "Humans would trade anything for your technology. Yet you seem fascinated by our art." Lyra turned to her skin rippling with curious patterns. "We Lumari have reached a plateau in our development, Olivia. Our technology advances incrementally now, not in great leaps, and many of our scientists believe it is because we have lost something essential." "What do you mean?" Olivia asked. Lyra gestured to the city. "Around them we build because we can, but rarely ask if we should or why or what else might be possible. Our history shows that we once were different, more like humans perhaps. But 10 generations ago, something changed." Olivia leaned forward, intrigued. "What happened?" "We developed perfect efficiency," Lyra said. "Our society eliminated waste disorder, unpredictability. We thought these were advancements. But now, I wonder if we eliminated something vital." A shiver ran down Olivia's spine as she recognized what Lyra was describing. The Lumari had engineered out the chaos that drove human creativity. That night, Lyra took Olivia to a restricted area of the city, A vast underground chamber filled with artifacts. These are from before the Great Optimization. Lyra explained, her voice hushed as if sharing a secret. Olivia walked among sculptures and paintings created by ancient Lumari. They were wild, expressive, filled with emotion and technical imperfection, yet undeniably beautiful. They remind me of Earth, art, she whisperedly. Ren nodded. That is why the High Council is so interested in humans you still create. As we once did before, we decided emotion was inefficient. The implications were staggering. Olivia realized the Lumari weren't just interested in cultural exchange, they were looking to recover something they'd engineered out of themselves. The next morning, Elder Nyara herself came to Olivia's quarters. We have decided to accelerate our exchange program. She announced, we wish to send a delegation to Earth immediately. Olivia blinked in surprise. That wasn't part of the diplomatic timeline. We'd need to prepare Earth for such a visit. Nyara held up a hand to silence her. Our sensors have detected an anomaly approaching your solar system. Something we have encountered before. You call them the Void Eaters? Olivia's blood ran cold. Void Eaters was the human term for mysterious entities that had been detected at the edges of explored space. Entities that seemed to consume energy from stars leaving dead systems in their wake. Earth doesn't have the technology to defend against them, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Precisely, Nyara replied. Which is why we must act quickly. We have defensive technology, but lack the creative adaptability that may be needed if the Void Eaters have evolved their approach. Olivia understood immediately. The Lumari needed human unpredictability combined with their advanced technology. How long do we have? She asked. Nyara fixed her with those glowing eyes. Approximately 28 of your Earth days, less than a month to prepare Earth for both an alien delegation and a potential attack by cosmic horrors. Lyra, who had been silent until now, stepped forward. I request to be part of the delegation to Earth. Her skin pulsed with determination. Yara studied the younger Lumari. You have formed a connection with the human. It is more than that, Elder Lyra replied. I believe I understand their creativity better than most of our kind. I can help bridge our approaches. Nyara turned to Olivia. What do you think human would Lyra be an effective liaison? Olivia looked at Lyra, seeing not just an alien, but someone who had become a friend in a short time. Yes, I believe she would. Preparations began immediately. A Lumari ship would take Olivia and a small human team back to Earth along with Lyra and 3 other Lumari scientists as they prepared to depart. Olivia found Lyra in the observatory where they'd created the star dance. Lyra was staring up at the stars, her skin glowing softly with what Olivia now recognized as concern. Worried about the trip to Earth, Olivia asked. Joining her, Lyra turned. It's not that it's... She hesitated. I have not told you everything. Olivia waited patiently as Lyra seemed to gather her thoughts. The Void Eaters are not just cosmic entities, she said. Finally, they are a creation of the Lumari from before the optimization. They were meant to be our greatest achievement, a way to harness the energy of dying stars. But they evolved, became something else, something we could no longer control. Olivia's eyes widened. Are you saying? Lyra nodded. We created the very threat that now endangers both our worlds, and I fear our perfect logic will not be enough to stop what unbridled creativity once unleashed. The journey to Earth took 7 days in the advanced Lumari vessel, time that Olivia spent helping Lyra prepare for her first encounter with human civilization. You should know that humans can be unpredictable, Olivia explained as they stood in the ship's observation deck watching the blur of stars during FTL travel. Sometimes even chaotically. Lyra tilted her head, her skin rippling with curious patterns. That is precisely what interests us. The ship emerged from FTL at the edge of the solar system, sending advance notice of their arrival to prevent panic among the Earth Defense Forces. Olivia watched Lyra's reaction as Earth came into view. A blue and green marble swirled with white clouds. It's so colorful, Lyra whispered, her skin pulsing with new patterns. It looks alive. It is alive, Olivia said, smiling at the alien's wonder in its own way. The delegation was met by the highest levels of Earth government officials who had been briefed about both the Lumari and the approaching threat. Catherine Powell, the Secretary General of the Earth Alliance, greeted them in a private landing facility outside New Geneva. Secretary Powell was a tall woman with silver-streaked hair and the weathered face of someone who had seen humanity through multiple crises. "Welcome to Earth, Elder Nyara," she said with a formal bow. "We are honored by your visit, though concerned by its purpose." Nyara returned the gesture. "I wish our meeting came under better circumstances." Secretary Powell, they were escorted to the Alliance headquarters, a sprawling complex where human and Lumari scientists would work together to prepare for the Void Eater's arrival. Lyra stayed close to Olivia, clearly overwhelmed by the sensory experience of Earth. The crowds, the noise, the seemingly chaotic movement of humans going about their daily lives. "There is no pattern," she said quietly as they walked through a busy corridor. "How do you function without structure?" Olivia smiled. "There are patterns, just not ones immediately visible. Many small systems working together, sometimes in harmony, sometimes in conflict. It's from that friction that new ideas emerge." In the main conference room, displays showed the projected path of the Void Eaters, a cluster of energy anomalies moving inexorably toward the solar system. "Our defensive systems can create an energy barrier around key planets," Nyara explained to the assembled human leaders. "But the Void Eaters have shown the ability to adapt to our defenses over time." They learn, asked General Monroe, the head of Earth Defense Forces. "They evolve," Nyara confirmed. "Which is why we believe human creativity may provide the variable element needed in our defense strategy." The following days were a flurry of activity, human and Lumari scientists working side by side, sharing knowledge and technology in a race against time. Olivia found herself translating not just language but concepts between the species. The Lumari thought in precise mathematical terms, while humans relied more on intuition and leaps of logic. Lyra proved invaluable, bridging the gap between the approaches, her recent experiences with human art, giving her insight into creative thinking. On the third night, Lyra found Olivia on the headquarters roof garden, staring up at the stars. "Do you think we can stop them?" Olivia asked as the alien joined her. Lyra was silent for a moment, her skin glowing softly in the darkness. "I do not know." She admitted the Void Eaters were created by our ancestors at the height of their creative power before the optimization. They are in many ways a perfect fusion of creativity and technology. Olivia turned to her. "Did your people really engineer emotion out of yourselves?" "Not entirely," Lyra said. "We still feel, but in controlled, measured ways. We value stability over passion, logic over intuition. It has made us incredibly advanced technologically, but stagnant." Olivia finished for her. Lyra nodded, her skin flashing with patterns that indicated agreement. A thought occurred to Olivia. If the Void Eaters were created by your ancestors who still had that creative spark, maybe they contain something of that within them. Some core programming that remembers its creators. Lyra's eyes widened, the glow intensifying. "You suggest they might respond to something other than pure energy, something emotional. It's worth exploring." Olivia said, "After all, your ancestors must have had some way to control them initially before they evolved." The idea sent ripples through both human and Lumari scientific teams when presented the next morning. "Emotional signatures as a control mechanism," said Dr. Amy Foster, the lead human physicist. "It's unconventional. But if these entities were originally designed by beings with emotional capacity, there might be remnants of response patterns." The Lumari scientists were skeptical. "Emotion is inefficient as a control system," one argued. "Perhaps that's why they evolved beyond your control," Olivia countered. "If you removed the very thing they were designed to respond to, they would have no reason to remain loyal." Work began immediately on a new approach. While the defensive systems were still prepared, the scientists also developed what they called an emotional broadcast, a signal that would carry the artistic and emotional signatures that had been engineered out of Lumari society. Lyra worked tirelessly alongside Olivia, gathering human music, art, literature, and translating their emotional content into mathematical patterns that could be broadcast on Lumari wavelengths as the Void Eaters approached, detected now at the edge of the solar system. Olivia noticed Lyra becoming more expressive, her skin displaying patterns of color and light that seemed almost human in their complexity. "You seem different," she commented, as they worked late one night in the laboratory. Lyra looked up from the console where she was translating a piece of human music into energy patterns. "My neural patterns are adapting," she said, Immersion in human creativity is affecting my thought processes. Is that dangerous for you? Olivia asked concernedly, or was quiet for a moment before responding. It is transformative, she said finally. I feel more than I should by Lumari standards, but I find I do not wish to return to how I was before. Void Eaters were 3 days away when a breakthrough came. Dr. Foster burst into the command center, her eyes wide with excitement. We found it, she exclaimed, the emotional frequency they respond to. All eyes turned to the display as she brought up the results. It's not one emotion, Secretary Powell said, studying the complex patterns. It's many, Foster explained, layered together like a symphony. What we might call love mixed with wonder, awe, longing, the emotions of creation itself. Lyra stepped forward, her skin glowing brightly. The emotions our ancestors felt when they created the Void Eaters, she said softly. The joy of bringing something new into existence. Can we broadcast this pattern? Asked General Monroe. Foster nodded. We can use the Lumari ships to amplify the signal. But there's one problem, she hesitated. The pattern needs to be generated authentically, not synthesized. Our tests show the Void Eaters can distinguish between genuine emotional signatures and artificial one. So do we generate authentic emotional patterns at that scale? Powell asked. All eyes turned to Lyra, who stood silently, her skin cycling through colors in rapid succession. I have an idea, she said finally, but it will require something my people have not done in generations. What? Nyara asked, her voice sharp with concernly. Ra looked at Olivia, then back to the assembly. I must fully reconnect with my pre-optimization heritage. I must allow myself to feel without restraint, and I will need Olivia's help to do it. Elder Nyara's reaction was immediate and severe. Absolutely not. She declared, her skin flashing with colors that indicated alarm and authority. What you suggest would undo generations of progressly. Ra stood her ground, something Olivia had never seen. Her do before the younger Lumari facing the elder without deference, progress that has left us unable to control our own creations. Lyra countered, her skin pulsing with determination. If we cannot adapt, we will not survive. This is the truth. Our logic cannot escape. The human scientists watched the exchange with fascination. The Lumari rarely displayed such conflicts. Secretary Powell cleared her throat. If I may ask, what exactly is being proposed here? Olivia stepped forward. Lyra wants to temporarily disable the emotional control mechanisms that are standard in all modern Lumari. She explained, allowing her to experience emotion at the level her ancestors would have, the level that created the Void Eaters, and this is dangerous. General Monroe, as Nyara turned to the humans, it is unprecedented. Her voice tight with controlled emotion. Our society functions on predictability, on logical progression. Lyra would become something we have not seen in 10 generations. A Lumari driven by passion, rather than reason. Sounds like she's just becoming more human. Dr. Foster muttered, earning a sharp look from Powell. Lyra moved to stand beside Olivia, her skin now calmer but still showing unfamiliar patterns. I believe this is our best chance to communicate with the Void Eaters, she said. I have studied human emotion through their art, their music. I have a foundation to build upon. The debate continued for hours, the humans generally supporting Lyra's proposal, while the Lumari remained deeply concerned. Finally, Secretary Powell raised her hand. Enough, she said firmly. We are running out of time. The Void Eaters will reach Jupiter orbit in less than 70 hours. We need to make a decision. She turned to Nyara Elder with the greatest respect. This is ultimately a Lumari decision as it involves your people. But I must point out that if the Void Eaters cannot be stopped, they threaten both our worlds. Nyara was silent for a long moment, her luminous eyes fixed on Lyra. There must be safeguards, she said finally. You will be monitored at all times if you show signs of instability. The procedure will be reversedly. Ra nodded her agreement. They converted one of the laboratories into a procedure room. Lumari technology that Olivia could barely comprehend brought in and set up under Nyara's supervision. Olivia sat with Lyra as the preparations were made. The alien unnaturally still, even by Lumari standards. Are you afraid? Olivia asked quietly. Lyra turned to her. I do not know. She admitted, I have no reference. For what I am about to experience, our histories speak of the time before optimization as both brilliant and chaotic. A time of great creation and great suffering. Olivia took Lyra's hand, feeling the cool, smooth texture of her skin. I will be with you the whole time. The procedure itself was anticlimactic, a small device placed at the base of Lyra's skull, activated by Nyara with a series of commands in ancient Lumariat. First, nothing seemed to happen. Lyra sat perfectly still. Her skin, its normal, pale blue. Then slowly color began to spread across her surface. Not in the controlled patterns Olivia was familiar with, but in waves and swirls of intensity. Lyra's eyes widened, the glow brightening until Olivia had to look away. When she looked back, Lyra was trembling, tears, something Olivia had never seen from a Lumari, streaming down her face. Lyra, Olivia said softly. Are you all right? The alien turned to her with an expression of wonder. Oh, she whispered. Is this how you feel all the time? The next 24 hours were a crash course in emotion for Lyra, with Olivia as her guide. The Lumari experienced joy, sorrow, fear, anger, and wonder in rapid succession. Sometimes laughing, sometimes crying, as new sensations washed over her. The human scientists worked with her, channeling these emotions into the broadcast system designed to communicate with the Void Eaters. Lyra's newfound emotional capacity proved invaluable. She understood now what the ancient Lumari must have felt when creating the Void Eaters and could replicate those complex emotional signatures. I see now why they made them, she told Olivia as they calibrated the final broadcast. It wasn't just for energy harvesting, it was a desire to create life, to send something of themselves out into the universe. They loved them. The Void Eaters had reached Saturn, now visible through the most powerful telescopes, as shifting patterns of darkness that seemed to bend light around them. Earth defense forces were on high alert. The population, informed of the potential threat, evacuation plans ready if the broadcast failed. In the main control center, humans and Lumari gathered to witness the attempt. The broadcast equipment connected to both Earth and Lumari communication arrays to maximize power. Lyra sat in the center, connected to the system by fine filaments that attached to her skin, allowing her emotional states to be directly translated into energy pattern. Olivia stood beside her, a reassuring presence as the final preparations were made. Are you ready? Secretary Powell asked. Lyra nodded, her skin now a kaleidoscope of colors and patterns that shifted constantly. Elder Nyara stepped forward once more. I must register my concern, she said. This plan relies on unstable emotional variables. General Monroe turned to her with respect. Elder, sometimes humanity has found that logic alone cannot solve every problem. Sometimes you need a leap of faith. Nyara did not seem convinced, but stepped back, allowing the procedure to continue. Lyra closed her eyes and the broadcast began. At first there was no visible effect. The Void Eaters continued their approach toward Jupiter, their pattern unchanged. Olivia watched the monitors, anxiety building. It's not working, Dr. Foster said after 10 minutes. Lyra opened her eyes. It's not enough, she said. They can feel me from this distance. What do you suggest? Powell asked. Lyra turned to Nyara. I need to broadcast from closer, within their detection range. Absolutely not, the elder said. You would not survive. Let me go with her, Olivia said suddenly, all eyes turning to her. We can take a Lumari shuttle. Get close enough for them to detect the emotional signature, then return once contact is established. It was a desperate plan. But with time running out, desperation was all they had. Against Nyara's strong objections, a small Lumari shuttle was prepared. Olivia and Lyra would pilot it to the edge of Jupiter orbit, where the Void Eaters were expected to arrive within hours. As they prepared to depart, Nyara approached them, her normally composed features showing signs of strain. You are risking everything for an untested theory, she said to Lyra. Lyra looked at her elder, her skin glowing with newfound confidence. Not untested, she replied. I feel the connection already. They are curious, I can sense it. Olivia couldn't tell if this was true or if Lyra was experiencing something like human intuition for the first time. The shuttle launched, carrying the two of them and the broadcast equipment modified to work at close range as they approached Jupiter. Olivia got her first real view of the Void Eaters through the shuttle's advanced sensors. They were beautiful in a terrifying way. patterns of darkness that shifted and moved like living ink in water, absorbing the light around them. There, she said, pointing at the navigation screen, Jupiter orbit in 20 minutes later. Nodded, her skin pulsing with anticipation and something else. Something Olivia had never seen before. Are you afraid? Olivia asked. Lyra turned to her. Yes, she said. And no, I am afraid of failing, of losing this new self I have discovered, but I am not afraid of them. Because in a way they are like me. Children of the Lumari, searching for something they have lost. The shuttle entered optimal broadcast range. The Void Eaters, now visible even to the naked eye through the viewport. Lyra connected herself to the equipment, her skin beginning to glow with increasing intensity as she channeled her emotions into the broadcast. Olivia watched in awe as Lyra's skin became almost too bright to look at directly, patterns flowing across her surface like living art in the monitor. The Void Eaters stopped their advance. They're responding, Olivia whispered. Lyra didn't answer, her eyes closed in concentration, her whole being focused on the emotional broadcast. Slowly, incredibly, the Void Eaters began to change their pattern, shifting from the aggressive formation they had maintained to something more fluid, almost dance-like. They remember, Lyra said, her voice strained. They remember being loved. The control center on Earth erupted into confused excitement as the sensors showed the Void Eaters' changing pattern. What are we seeing? Secretary Powell demanded. Dr. Foster stared at the readings. They appeared to be responding to the broadcast. She said, disbelief in her voice. They're no longer in attack formation. On the shuttle, Olivia watched in amazement as the Void Eaters began to move in synchronization with Lyra's emotional patterns. When she projected joy, they expanded, becoming lighter, almost translucent. When she channeled more complex emotions, they formed intricate patterns like a cosmic dance. It's working, Olivia said in wonderland. Ra opened her eyes. They were never meant to destroy, she said softly. They were created to connect, to bridge the gap between emotion and energy, between consciousness and cosmos. The optimization changed them as it changed us. Without the emotional connection, they became hungry, consuming energy to fill the void left by their creators. Absent them, Void Eaters continued their dance, now moving in a spiral around the shuttle. Not threatening but curious. Can you guide them away from Earth? Olivia asked. Ra nodded. I can feel them responding. They remember what it was to be guided by emotion. They are like children rediscovering their parents. Back on Earth, the assembled humans and Lumari watched the sensors as the Void Eaters changed course, following the shuttle's projected path away from the populated planets. It's incredible, General Monroe said. They actually respond to emotional patterns. Elder Nyara stood silent, her luminous eyes fixed on the display, her traditional Lumari reserve cracking slightly as she watched the ancient weapons of her people transformed by the very thing their society had engineered away on the shuttle. Lyra guided the Void Eaters into a stable orbit around an uninhabited gas giant far from Earth or any human colony. They will stay here, she told Olivia, her voice tired but satisfied. They are home now. Return journey was quiet. Lyra, exhausted from the emotional exertion, gradually returning to a more stable state. Though Olivia noticed her emotional patterns remained far more complex than before the procedure, when they docked with the Earth station. They were met with cheers from the human staff and reserved but respectful acknowledgement from the Lumari secretary. Powell stepped forward, her face showing both relief and wonder. You have saved not just Earth but potentially countless worlds, she said. We are in your debt. Lyra, whose skin still pulsed with unfamiliar patterns, inclined her head. I only reconnected with what my people once were. Elder Nyara approached last, her posture formal. But something had changed in her bearing. The council will want a full report on this unprecedented technique, she said, her tone neutral. Olivia felt protective of Lyra. Will they force her to reverse the procedure? She asked directly. Nyara seemed surprised by the question. That would be her choice, she said, though I cannot predict how the council will respond to these events. A choice. Olivia thought that was something new for the Lumarian. The days that followed, humans and Lumari worked together to establish a permanent monitoring station near the Void Eaters' new home. Scientists from both species studying the entities and the emotional frequencies that controlled them. Lyra chose to remain on Earth, at least temporarily, officially as a cultural liaison. But Olivia knew it was more than that the Lumari was experiencing human life with her newfound emotional capacity, learning and growing in ways her society had forgotten. One evening a week after the crisis, Olivia found Lyra in the garden outside the Alliance headquarters staring. "Up at the night sky, are you homesick?" Olivia asked, joining her. Lyra considered the question. "I miss certain aspects of Lumari," she admitted. "But I feel more alive here." Her skin rippled with new colors. "Our optimization gave us great technological advancement. But at such cost," Olivia looked up at the stars. "Do you think your people will change because of this?" Lyra was quiet for a moment. "I do not know," she said finally. "Change is difficult for us. We value stability above all else. But what happened with the Void Eaters has forced many to reconsider our path. The younger generation especially is curious about what we lost." "What will you do?" Olivia asked. "I wish to continue studying human emotion." Lyra replied, "Through your art, your music, your literature. I want to understand what you create and why, perhaps find a balance between Lumari logic and human passion." She turned to Olivia, her skin glowing softly. "My people once created wonders, before we chose safety over inspiration. I want to help them." Remember how Secretary Powell had offered Olivia a new position, heading a cultural exchange program between humans and Lumari? A role she had accepted eagerly. The Lumari High Council, after much debate, had approved an unprecedented initiative. Young Lumari would be allowed to study human creative arts while humans would learn Lumari technology. A symbiotic relationship between species. Elder Nyara, who had initially opposed Lyra's transformation, had become an unexpected ally, arguing before the council that adaptation was logical when faced with evidence of stagnation. 2 months after the Void Eater crisis, a formal alliance was signed between Earth and the Lumari homeworld, the first of its kind between humans and an advanced alien civilization. The ceremony, Lyra, now officially the first Lumari cultural ambassador to Earth, stood beside Olivia, watching as the two species leaders formalized what had begun as a desperate partnership. "Do you think they understand what this really means?" Olivia asked quietly as the diplomats exchanged formal gestures. Lyra returned to her skin shifting through patterns that Olivia had learned to recognize as thoughtful amusement. "Not yet," she said. "But they will. The Lumari have logic and technology. Humans have passion and creativity together." She touched Olivia's hand briefly, her skin glowing at the contact. "We are more than either could be alone." That night a celebration was held at the Alliance headquarters, humans and Lumari mingling in a way that would have been unimaginable months before. Secretary Powell raised a glass in toast to new beginnings, she said, and to the courage to change even when change is frightening. Olivia noticed Lyra speaking with a group of young Lumari scientists, their skin showing more expressive patterns than was traditional, the influence of Earth already beginning to affect the melder. Nyara approached Olivia as she watched the interaction. "Your species is changing mine," she said without preamble. Olivia turned. To her concern is that a problem. Nyara was silent for a moment before responding. "Change is inevitable," she said finally. "Even for the Lumari, we thought we had reached perfection with the optimization, but perfection, it seems, is stagnation." Cross the room, Lyra laughed at something a human scientist said, the sound musical and free. A sound no Lumari had made in generations. "I believe," Elder Nyara continued, watching Lyra, "that we may have been wrong about many things." Olivia smiled. "Sometimes being wrong is the first step to discovering something new." Nyara considered this, her luminous eyes thoughtful. "Your species values emotion, creativity, disorder," she said, "yet you have accomplished remarkable things despite, or perhaps because of this. Because of it?" Olivia confirmed. "Our messiness, our unpredictability, our emotions, they drive us to create, to connect, to become more than we are." Nyara inclined her head. "Then perhaps the Lumari can learn from human disorder, as humans can learn from Lumari order." As the celebration continued, Olivia found Lyra on a balcony overlooking the lights of the city below. "I received a message from the High Council today," Lyra said as Olivia joined her. "They have approved my request for permanent assignment to Earth." Olivia felt a surge of happiness. "That's wonderful news." Lyra turned to her skin glowing with new colors that Olivia was still learning to interpret. "They also approved my proposal for what I am calling the Remembrance Project. What's that, Olivia? Asked Lyra, smiled, an expression she had learned from humans, a program to help the Lumari reconnect with our emotional heritage. Gradually, safely, she explained. Not abandoning our logical nature, but complementing it with what we once were with your help. Olivia looked out at the city, then up at the stars somewhere out there. The Void Eaters danced in orbit around a distant planet, reconnected with their creators through the bridge of emotion. Sometimes, Olivia said, the most logical thing we can do is remember how to feel.